Number 9. Sega Saturn. Released in 1995, the Sega Corporation had high hopes for the Sega Saturn, like they did just a few years earlier with the Sega Genesis. Unfortunately, it would not be the case, because of a few minor marketing flaws they had.
Introducing Sega Saturn.
Aww. Hit it. For starters, the bastard cost $400 at release date. $400. Gooch, back in 1995, what would you have bought for 400 bucks?
You could buy anything you damn well please, except you couldn't get a fucking 3DO for $400, so I don't know what people were bitching about. Also, I disagree with how people say it lacked any killer launch titles. I mean, I remember great launch titles like... And... DB, what do you remember?
Absolutely. I remember such great launch titles as Sonic the Hedgehog and Altered Beast, two kick-ass rockin' games.
You're so right. Those two games really did kick ass. They kicked ass back on the goddamn Sega Genesis. Really, what the hell are you thinking? There were no killer launch titles on the Saturn.
Okay, as my mind comes back to reality here, let's talk about some of the big titles that came out for the Saturn after the system was released. You had Virtual Fighter, you had Virtual Cop, you had Daytona USA, you had House of the Dead. Yes, I know these were arcade games, but Sega did a great job of taking the arcade games and porting them to the home system itself. And let's not forget about the Panzer Dragoon series, an awesome, awesome series. And also one of my all-time favorite multiplayer games, Guardian Heroes, only for the Saturn. That was not for the Sony PlayStation. Gooch, name some other great games that came out for the Saturn.
Great games on the Sega Saturn. You cannot mention great games unless you talk about Knights. Revolutionary, ass-kicking game. Other great ones like Shining Force, the Sega Bomberman, great party game. Burning Rangers, a personal favorite of mine. Radiant Silvergun, great for all the hardcore gamers out there. An assload of great 2D fighting games, especially the Marvel vs. Capcom and all those spin-offs from Capcom. There was also a ton of great games in Japan that a lot of us never seen, or we did finally see years later on the PlayStation with a lesser, watered-down port.
Let's quickly take a look at the Saturn's hardware to give the viewers at home a better idea why we put the Saturn at number 9 on our list. Now, Gooch, back in the day, the norm for most systems with processors was 1. Sega took a different route with the Saturn. It had more than 1. Do you know how many it had?
Let's see. I'm going to say somewhere around 300 million.
That's wrong, dipshit. It actually had 3 processors. 2 for the graphics and 1 for the sound.
Yeah, you heard him right. We're talking about 1 processor strictly for the audio. Pretty much unheard of at the time. If you had a good home stereo or theater system or anything like that, the Saturn, it made it shine. Your Saturn took advantage of all that and fucking threw at you sound like you never heard come from a game system before.
So with a system that had all of these great features and everything going for it, why did it only last a few years, Gooch?
I can only think of 2 words, and I'm thinking Bernie Stoller?
Everything, my baby!
Yeah, all-American retard and CEO of shit proportions.
This is coming from the guy that said RPGs would not work here in the States, which is kind of funny since Final Fantasy VII for the Sony PlayStation was one of the best-selling RPGs of all time.
Yeah, RPGs don't sell. Bernie, go fuck yourself in the ass.
Thanks, Bernie, for not only killing the Saturn, but killing Sega of America.
Of course, we're only talking about Sega of America. We're forgetting about Sega of Japan, where the Sega thrived a little longer and had enjoyed better sales thanks to a Sega marketing campaign that featured a fictional character named Segata Sanshiro.
Yeah, that's right. Wait a minute, who?
Segata Sanshiro.
You've lost me.
Segata Sanshiro. Think the manliest man you've ever seen in your life. Think
Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris.
Charles Bronson?
Charles Bronson.
Andy Griffith?
If Andy Griffith wore a Saturn on his back, hiked alone in the mountains, and beat the shit out of young kids for not playing Sega Saturn, then you're thinking the right fucking Andy Griffith.
That's what he did in Mayberry, bitch!
Check our clips of Sega Sanshiro and understand why the Saturn was so kick-ass.
Well, that does it for number 9 in our 10 greatest systems of all time featuring the Sega Saturn. I'm Dooshebag, he was the Gooch. We will see you next time.